Hello and welcome to a very special tea room on a Tuesday night. Thank you all for joining me. Let me introduce our panel. We have Batch Guitar. Hello, Batch. How are you doing?
Hey, good evening, everyone.
Below me, I have Red Shovel. Evening, Shovel.
Evening, all. Evening, all.
And next to me, I have the right-hand man of the show, the second right-hand man apart from Batch, which is Palm, Night Wristwatchman. Good evening, Palm.
Good evening, Tickers. Good evening, all.
Okay, so tonight we have a very special guest. We have an action-adventure lifestyle YouTube legend, Mr. Adam Swords. Welcome to the show, Adam.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
We're doing okay.
Really
Thank
well.
you so much for joining the stream tonight for us. That's really good.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
You're a very busy bloke. So
I am.
I'd
Always
like to
got time to drink tea and talk about watches.
thank you, sir. That's brilliant. I'd like to just ask you. You're a Brit living in LA, and you're just like living the dream. Can you tell us about your watch journey and how you built such a strong social media presence, and what kind of current exciting projects you've got on the go, please?
Wow. All right. That's a lot. So let's start off with Brit in LA. Yeah. So technically I'm now in Orange County. So not LA anymore. I'm about an hour south.
Right.
But I moved out to LA originally. If you guys have watched any of my early videos where I kind of talk a little bit about like my what got me here, I should be embarrassed about it, but weirdly I'm not. I used to watch the TV show The OC when I was a kid. When I was like 14 or 15. And I just fell in love with the idea of living at the beach and, you know, trying to pick up cute girls at the high school and, you know, all the rest of it. And it was like, because those characters were my age, it was just this life that I wanted to live. And so it's been in my mind that whole time. And unfortunately, I missed the boat on living the lifestyle I wanted to as a teenager. But at 26, 27, I finally made the jump and actually moved out here to live. So I was up in LA in the beginning, and then from LA, I sort of made my way slowly south, and now I live in Newport Beach, which is ironically where the OC was set. So I'm 10 years late, but I did it.
You got there, yeah.
So yeah, exactly.
Never too late. Never too late.
Wow.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So, and do you know what's really funny is where I live is actually where they shot all of the like the beauty sequences of like showing the Newport coastline. That is exactly where I live right now. So yeah, it's fun. It's kind of fun how it came full circle. But so yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. Like I said, I grew up in Kenilworth in Warwickshire, so Midlands lad. Yeah, grew up in Kenilworth, which is a very small town. And
Coventry, is that next to Coventry, right?
It's near Coventry, yeah. So I actually went to Coventry University.
Okay.
So yeah, it's right next door. So you've got like Coventry, Leamington, Warwick, Kenilworth. So grew up in Kenilworth, bought a place in Warwick, lived there for 4 years, and then yeah, made the jump out here. So that's kind of where I'm at and where I am geographically. In terms of my watches, I've always loved watches. Like I've always just liked how they looked, but I never knew anything about them. Like had no real understanding of what made a watch special. They were purely an aesthetic thing. And then I'm just trying to think what watches I had when I moved out here. I don't think I had anything worth more than 100 quid, you know, like G-Shocks were kind of what I was wearing the most of because of everything I was doing. I was out adventuring and, you know, getting into trouble. So G-Shocks were the watch for the job. And then, as you guys know, I started a YouTube channel with a weird English bloke called Michael. And we started the Producer Michael channel. So to backtrack for your audience that perhaps don't know me or Michael, so I'm a commercial advertising photographer by trade. And so I moved out to the US on a visa as a commercial advertising photographer. And my manager that represents me for my photography is Michael Blakey, aka Producer Michael on Instagram and now on YouTube. And so that is how Michael and I know each other, is he is my manager for my photography. And then I had done a bit of YouTube stuff previously, and I love making videos, and, you know, I obviously have the production skills. And he has all of the access to Hollywood and watches and cars and things. And so I just pitched the idea to him that we start shooting some videos. And he's like, who's going to watch? And I was like, I don't know, we'll find out. So start making videos, and they picked up, and the channel grew and grew. And we're at 1.4 million subscribers on that channel now. But through excuse me, through the Producer Michael channel, I was exposed to all of these incredible watches, and taken into jewelry stores where I was handed watches, and I'd be like, "Oh, this is nice. How much is this?" And they'd be like, "Oh, this is $1.3 million," and I'd be like, "How much?" And that really started the kind of the cogs turning in terms of me wanting to learn more about why is this worth so much money. I'm not a flashy person. I'm not as much as I do the Producer Michael channel, what makes me happy is being up in the mountains with my dog and camping in my truck and, out my Sea-Doo adventuring. That's what I live for. But I always had a real keen interest in why are people spending so much for these watches?
Yeah.
And so, I just started to learn more about them. And I'm trying to think what my first luxury, well, you can call it luxury. So Seiko, this was the first watch that actually cost me some money. And this is a modified Seiko. So I don't know if you guys can see that.
Beautiful, that. I love Seiko. I'm a Seiko. I buy a Seiko. I love that.
Yeah, lovely, beautiful
lovely.
dial. That
Beautiful dial. That.
Yeah, so it's all original Seiko parts, but from different models and stuff. And so I had a guy called Loomshot on Instagram make that for me, just because it's the paddy dial. I love the color of the dial. It's obviously a dive watch, although I never wear this one in the water really. But I just kind of started with that. I think this was $1,000 or something because it was all custom, and that was just kind of where it started. And then from there, I just got into more and more, and then eventually bought myself my first Rolex, which again is modified, and people hate this watch, and I think it's hilarious.
One of the most controversial Rolex out there, I think.
Yeah,
I think it is. Is
that the black? Is that the black PVD?
Which one is it?
On your EDC? Is that the one on the EDC video?
Yeah, but how dare you call it PVD? It's DLC.
Oh, DLC.
I see.
And
Okay.
do you know what's funny is it has one PVD link, and this is the perfect example. Can you see how it's the PVD is scratched off?
Yeah.
But then all of the other links are perfect. So
Wow.
that just goes to show that DLC.
You pointed that out. You pointed out that video as well. You pointed out. Yeah.
It's a superior product.
It's definitely. I mean, and I work on my car in this. I've knocked this off of door frames. I'm definitely not easy on anything that I own really. But it stood up. So but people were absolutely mortified about the fact that I would get a Rolex that has been modified, especially as my first one. But I love it. I mean, it's my brand colors. My whole thing is neon yellow. Literally everything that I have is got some kind of, even my little fidget thing on my desk is neon yellow. It was cool for me that it was in my brand colors. And that's kind of where I'm at really is just I'm still learning, and I'm still deciding where I stand on watches and luxury watches, but I'm very much enjoying the journey so far.
Cool.
Awesome. That's great. Excellent, thank you. I think Red's got a question for you, Red.
Yeah, one of the first videos that I seen you and even a producer Michael in was the time he took you to Seth's to Essential Watches and bought you the Panerai, and I just loved that whole sort of process of you sort of choosing the watch, sort of narrowing it down, and also that you didn't take the pay and pick the most expensive thing either.
Right.
You sort of narrowed it down, I think, to the Rolex Deep Sea and to the Panerai, which are quite big watches. Was you're into, are you into quite big watches? So sort of I have two questions. Are you still into the sort of bigger style watches, or have you sort of came down in size and are maybe trying things that are a little bit smaller? And if we were back that day in Seth's store, with sort of hindsight, would you have picked the Panerai still?
Yeah, like you say, at that time, it was quite early on in my watch journey, and I didn't really know much about watches. I had no idea of the value of any of those watches I was looking at. I was purely looking at them from an aesthetic standpoint. But having said that, obviously I knew what a Rolex was. Everyone knows what a Rolex is. Even if you don't know what watches are, you know a Rolex. And you know that a Rolex is rightly or wrongly, one of the kind of grail watches for a lot of people. And so for me, because of all the videos we had done previously, where whenever we were in a watch shop, I always seemed to have my eyes drawn towards Panerais before I even knew what they were. You know, I wasn't looking at them because I had any idea about the history, about the movements, about anything. I just liked how they looked. And so when it came down to picking those two, I think part of my brain was going, oh, Rolex, like Rolex is cool. But the other half of my brain was going, but you really like Panerais. And that this is every video you've said that if I was going to buy something right that second, it would be a Panerai. And I think the reason why I chose the Panerai was because I love how it looked. You know, it's a beautiful watch and I still love it to this day. But also because I felt like, you know, as it was a gift, if I was going to ever own a Rolex, it would feel great to be able to buy it myself. And, you know, when it came down to it, I went and bought this one. And so it was sort of that nice, like I was setting myself up for my future aspirations of watch owning, while also, you know, being respectful of the gift that I was being given and taking advantage of the fact that I'd always wanted a Panerai. So yeah, I think given the if we went back in time and I got the opportunity again, I would still go for the Panerai.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. And Andy's got something for you now, Andy.
Yeah. So I guess it all ties to, you know, what we were discussing earlier. But like from my side, I've seen you being, you know, surrounded by so much luxury and wealth, obviously over on the producer Michael side and also on your side as well through the friends you're making. However, I see you're really grounded and you're very true to yourself. So I was just going to ask, you know, how do you, like many people would get sucked into that world and, you know, want to be part of that, but you're very, you know, you're definitely your own person and you stay on track to who you are. So how do you keep that separation? And also how does that affect your, you know, your watch decisions as well? So when you're looking for a new watch, how does that does it influence in any way, or, you know, what's your process?
Yeah, I mean, great observation, and I'm glad that that comes across, because, you know, whether it's on my personal channel where obviously I'm out adventuring and going out into, you know, the woods and mountains and camping, or on the ocean riding sea-doos, that is what makes me truly happy. Like that is what gives me joy in life, is being in nature, being around animals, helping people, animals, whatever, like that. It always has been. And so, like you say, I am surrounded 2-3 days a week by this opulence and wealth and a lifestyle that even the top 0.1% don't always get access to. You know, like sure. It truly is amazing the situations that I've been around, the places I've been, and opportunities that I've been afforded through doing the luxury, you know, the producer Michael lifestyle. Can't speak. The producer Michael YouTube channel and that luxury lifestyle. Sure. But for me, what I've kind of come to realize, and this is something that was brought into real sharp focus recently due to a certain thing that I might have eaten and expanded my mind, sure. is that I am so happy with myself and with like the fewer things that I have. Oh, here's Diesel, by the way. The fewer things that I have, the happier I am, weirdly. And so a life of sort of simplicity is something that I've been working towards now subconsciously for a while. And then, like I say, due to the recent experiences that I've had, it's sure. been brought into very sharp focus and has been more at the forefront of my mind. And so in terms of, you know, how do I keep grounded? It's not an active choice. I'm just being sure. true to who I am. And I think the other thing is that, like, I don't like the unnecessary, and I also don't like showing off. And so when it comes to that, when someone is like, oh, look at me and look at what I have, in like a pompous way, I pull back the other way. Like, I just don't want, I'm not going to go, oh, wow, that's awesome. I'm like, I don't care. Like, and this is a question that I get asked a lot about being friends with Michael, is like, sure. you know, oh, when, you know, you're friends with millionaires, like, how does that feel? And I'm like, that's such a weird question to me, because the money that someone has in their bank account has absolutely no effect on me. Like the money that Mike, let's use Michael for an example. The money that Michael has in his bank account is Michael's money. It's not Adam's money, and it doesn't impact me. You know, I'm not spending his money. He's not giving me his money. So therefore, the fact that he is a wealthy guy makes no difference. Like, it doesn't make a difference to my friend who, you know, currently doesn't have a job, but is a great person. At the end of the day, if you are a truly good human being, I want to be around you. And if you suck, I am not going to have anything to do with you, regardless of how much money you have or not. And so I think that's always been how I've felt. And I feel the same way with kind of celebrity and that kind of thing, is like, I respect people's hard work, and I respect where people have got to through their own endeavors and, like, you know, just trying to better themselves. But just because you're a celebrity or a business owner or whatever, like whoever you are, I don't see people as being like above or below each other. We're all in this together. So it's more about people's energy and people's, you know, how people are that I tend to like gravitate towards. To bring this back to watches, the way that has more recently made me think about them is, you know, I have a few pieces now that I love, and I have a few pieces that, you know, have real great sentimental value to me that I will hold on to. But whereas probably 12 or 18 months ago, I had aspirations of owning, you know, Rolex Daytona or, you know, bigger and better watches. Now I've kind of pumped the brakes on that a little bit, because I'm thinking, how does a, whatever this is worth now, $10,000 Rolex give me more joy than a $1,000 Seiko, right? Like, does this make me happier than this? And the true answer is no. I actually wear this more. And so I've been listening to that voice more and trying to avoid keeping up with the Joneses, because I think a lot of people get too swept up in the fact that, like, oh, I need to own a Rolex because I need to prove to people that I own a Rolex. When actually, for me, the beauty of watches is that I get just as much enjoyment from a $300 watch as I do from a $10,000 watch or above. Yeah. So I think I'm definitely leaning more now towards like finding pieces that speak to me, rather than just like checking boxes on, oh, I need this watch, and this watch, because that's what all of the guys that I hang around with have. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think
that's the whole ethos of the channel. That is the kind of what
I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, that's so good.
It's such a good message. Yeah.
I mean, I've got a moon watch like you. You've got a Bulliver moon watch, and I love it. You know, that's it. Great watch.
Do you know what? I've had more conversations about my moon watch with people than I have about my Rolex, my Panerai. You know, like people.
Yes, the story.
I love the story. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's so nice to be able to like explain that and share, because I feel like, especially with non-watch people, they don't understand why a Rolex is worth the money, because a Rolex looks like, you know, any other stainless steel sport watch, right? But it has the Rolex badge on it. So why is that better? And they don't want to know about movements and all that boring stuff to non-watch people. Sure. But with something like the moon watch, the fact that it's a watch is almost, you know, it almost doesn't matter, right? It could have been like the Bulliver like moon glasses, like they're cool because they went to the moon. Like, there's that story behind it, and that's what I'm leaning more towards now, is finding those pieces, because I think that's way more interesting than just going, oh yeah, this one is, you know, worth 10 grand, and that's why it's cool.
Yeah,
and that leads straight into my question, actually, Adam. So, of all the watches you've seen and handled on all your adventures and all your, you know, meeting all the high-end people and places you've been to, which was your favorite? That's the first part.
Okay. So that's such a hard question. My favorite watch I've ever had my hands on.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jeez. I
Yeah,
don't even know if I have an answer. Like, I don't even know if there's a single watch that I can point to.
What left the longest lasting impression on you then? Let's put it that way. Once you put it down and went away, you thought, well, was there one like that?
So I think there's a few, there's different reasons why watches leave lasting impressions, right? So one of the reasons is just how beautiful they are, right? Yeah. So for example, the Michael has a is it Submariner or GMT, or I think it's Submariner with it's got the pave diamond bezel with black, I don't know if it's black diamonds or what they are, but it's just like, it's a very subtle but like beautiful watch. And I always say, whenever he wears it, I'm like, that's my favorite watch you own. So that one is one that from very early on I looked at, and I'm not a blingy guy. Like I don't, you know, I literally
no.
Diamonds aren't something that appeal to me. But for that specific purpose of like wearing a nice dress watch out somewhere, like if you're gonna do it, then that is a great way to do it with like class and style. It's got like little diamonds, nothing too crazy, but it was just one of those watches where I went, yeah, that's really cool. So I think from an aesthetic perspective, that watch was probably one of my favorites. Obviously and this is quite good timing because I literally just finished filming a video with Jacob and Michael yesterday. But when I first saw the Astronomia, the Jacob & Co. Astronomia, which is, if your audience don't know, it's a sapphire crystal case with like a big bubble on the top of it. The thing, it looks like a fishbowl. And then inside it has a triple axis tourbillon. The whole movement rotates. It's just this absolute masterpiece of whether you like how it looks aesthetically. I mean, I've got to admit, it's not my favorite looking watch, but from an engineering standpoint, it's unbelievable. And I guess I can say this, and I'm sure it's already out there, but they now make a Astronomia perpetual calendar minute repeater. So they took what was already an insanely complicated piece and turned it into something like just a little astronaut on it that like spins around. It's awesome. So, you know, my kind of nerdy brain really appreciates that kind of thing. And there's also another one in that video, and I'll leave it to be a surprise, so you have to go and watch the video that will go out.
Okay,
Producer Michael channel, but there was another one that he's done in collaboration with Bugatti that again is insanely complicated. I want to say it's got something like 94 jewels. Where when you consider that the twin turbo Furious has like 50 something jewels, and that's complicated enough.
Wow! And this is a new one. It's not the one with the pistons what are moving. It's a different one. Or
yes, the Bugatti one I'm talking about is a different one. Yeah.
Oh wow! All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Pretty good teaser. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. So yeah, I don't really have like one specific watch that I can call out, but definitely like Michael's Rolex. That Astronomia, when I first saw it, was something that was really left a
that's what I was going for with the question. But what we admire watches. It's not just because someone else wears it and it's nice and it's expensive. It's what makes what you love about a watch. Which watch you love the most. So the second part of my question, and because being the fun police, I'll try and shorten mine. It was about your grail. I'm going to shorten it and hopefully you'll take a hit on time. But
okay,
what would your grail watch, Adam?
My grail watch. That's a great question as well. Like I said, my viewpoint on watches has changed somewhat more recently, and not just watches, but just physical possessions in general. So previously, the watch that I was looking for was a 1988 Rolex Daytona. I love how the Daytonas look, and 1988 was the year I was born. So I just thought, you know what? If I'm gonna own one, sure, I could get the latest and greatest Panda and all the rest of it, but wouldn't it be cool to get one that's like my my birth year?
Amazing.
So I think that's probably something that I'm not necessarily working towards anymore, but should the opportunity ever arise, I would be hard pushed to let it go. So I would say probably that 1988 Rolex Daytona, because I think they had the Zenith movements as well.
They did. I think they did back then. Yeah.
Which kind of makes them a little bit more interesting. And again, Tickers were talking about the story behind watches, and it's like, sure, you can buy the newest, latest, and greatest, but it's cool to have a story where this one actually doesn't have a Rolex movement; it's a Zenith movement, blah blah blah. So it just gives it a little bit more meat on the bone to justify the purchase.
Sure.
Excellent.
Nice
Thank you.
one.
Can I ask you, please, what is just describe a typical day in the life of Adam Swords?
God, typical day. Well, it depends on whether I'm filming or not. But let's say that I am filming, then typically up, breakfast, feed the dog, walk the dog, and then it'll be off to either ride out on my Sea-Doo or go and do some adventure thing for my channel, or it'll be driving up to Beverly Hills meeting up with Michael, and then going and filming up there. And then, usually a really boring 2-hour drive all the way back in traffic on the 405 freeway, because that is what it's like driving in LA. And then I really enjoy, like I keep saying, I really enjoy just being outside, just being out in nature, and where I live is perfect. So me and Diesel, the dog, we do tons of walking and, out and about. And I live in Newport Beach, right on the harbor, so I get to experience the beauty that that affords me. So I try to be outside as much as I possibly can. And so, like I said, if I'm not shooting, then that's usually what I'm doing. I'm at the beach, out on a hike there's lots of mountains up here where I live. Nice. So I'm up on there hiking, or I'm out on a Sea-Doo or driving my car. I'm trying to live the life that when I was 14 years old, and I thought, what can I do like when I'm older? I remember sitting in class and, looking out the window and seeing people outside that weren't at school and just being like, God, you're so lucky that you're not at school. And like, I'm trying to live the life that would have made 13-year-old me the happiest person possible, thinking that, wait, you're going to get paid one day to ride a jet ski or to, drive your car or whatever like that. That's constantly my goal, is like, find your everyday adventure is my strapline for a reason. And it's because we only get one shot. So I want to make the most of it. That's kind of my usual day, is like take care of the business stuff with the filming, and then just be outside and adventuring and exploring as much as I can.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Okay, over to you, Red.
Sorry, just a quick bit on that. You seem quite a driven person there. What time would you say are you like one of these 6 a.m. type guys, or just whenever?
God, that's a lie-in. 6 a.m.
Really?
I like to set my alarm for about 5:30, between 5 and 5:30. I do much better in the morning. I'm saying that I didn't wake up till 11 today because I was up drinking red wine till 3 a.m. But I do typically, like on a a normal weekday, then Monday to Friday, I like to be up at 5:30, and then I get up, make a cup of tea, take the dog out, do my emails, and I like the mental clarity, and also that kind of like small victory that you feel when 9 o'clock rolls around and you've already done a few hours worth of work, and that there's some people that are walking into the office hugging their Starbucks, getting ready to start their day, and you've already done
it.
A couple of hours worth of work. And also it means that I don't feel guilty that at 1 o'clock in the afternoon that I go, all right, I'm done, I want to go out and do something fun. So that's it. It definitely took a while to get there. I've always been an early riser, but 5:30 I had to build up to it. It was set my alarm for 7 for a week, and then it was 5:30 for a week, and then it was 6 for a week, and I eased my way into it. But once you get there, it's amazing how much more productive you feel. And then, like I said, the fact that on the backside of the day, you get to guilt-free still enjoy your time. And then you go to bed tired and you sleep well, and just, I don't know, it works for me. But I know there are some people that like to do it the other way. And
are you done at 9 o'clock, or are you still in bed 12 o'clock, 5.5 hours sleep, or are you a 7-hour person?
If I can't get 8 hours, I sort of look at my clock. If I'm going to bed and I'm not going to get 8 hours, I'm like, all right, I'll be okay. Right. But realistically, 8 I can do fine with 7. If it's 6, then I'm like, I'm going to be grumpy tomorrow.
Right.
But like I said, when you get up at 5:30, by the time 9 o'clock rolls around,
you're done. You're entitled to it. Yeah, you're done.
Lunchtime, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I'm ready. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, over to you, Red.
Okay, Alan. We've seen you meet some very interesting characters, on both your channel and on producer Michael's character. The likes of Peter Marco, you've Yoshi, you've Niall Naomi. Who's been your favorite character and why?
That's a good question too. Favorite character, like who do I like the best?
Who do you like the best? Yeah. Who we can if Michael said, you're right, we're going to film with such and such a person, which one would you want to go and see maybe more than somebody else?
I love Seth and I love Peter Sedgey. They're just brilliant people. Like Seth, he's just such a genuinely nice guy. Like there's no side to him at all. Like he is just a wonderful person. Peter Sedgey is just the same. You know, like he's just such a genuine person. So I love filming with those guys. In terms of like entertainment, Peter Marco is always hilarious because he's just like, you know, personality is almost as bright as his teeth. Like he's just mental. We haven't seen him for a while, to be fair, because he's been so busy. And you know, his store, I think since we started doing videos with him, like, you know, we sort of helped to put him on the map, and his stuff's blown up. And so yeah, he's doing all sorts of amazing things. So I do love filming with Peter as well. And then you know, Yossi is just what you see on camera is honestly a tame version of Yossi. Like when we go in, the way he takes the pee out of my on camera, like he does it 10 times worse off camera. Like he's just a real interesting guy. He's in Israel now. He took off to Israel before COVID, and we haven't seen him for a while. But there's rumors he's coming back, so hopefully we'll get to shoot with him again because it's always a laugh. Like when we went down to his vault once. And he's like, yeah, I have loads of stuff. And Michael's like digging through, and he's like slapping Michael's hands, and he's like, get off that. I was like, well, I want to have a look. And then Michael reaches down and picks up this like folded piece of paper, and he opens it up, and it has this like hoofing great big diamond in it. And he's like, Yossi, this was on the floor. And he like grabs it and goes, yeah. And he like just throws it back in a drawer. And it's another world, you know, it is another world. So he was always fun to film with. So yeah, it's hard to pick a real favorite, but in terms of like who I'm genuinely like friends with off camera, rather than just people we go and film with, Seth and Peter Sedgey are just two absolutely solid guys. And you know, I would say if you guys are ever looking to buy watches or jewelry, like go to them with confidence, not just because they're on the channel. Like go to them with confidence. I bought my Rolex from Seth. I bought my mum's Rolex from him. Peter Sedgey, you know, I've been talking to him about some stuff as well. So yeah, they're just really, really solid people in a world that definitely has like fakes. You know what I mean? Like a lot of fake people in that industry or in that kind of luxury world, and they are absolutely as genuine as it gets.
Brilliant. Excellent. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, Batch, that leads one of those comments then leads into Batch's next question.
Yeah, perfect. So, yeah, the recent video where you bought your mother the Rolex, I think all of us, right, have that dream in our mind that we'll make it to a level where we can give back to our parents when they've done so much for us. So I just wanted to know a bit more about, you know, how good did that feel? I know it was like 2 years saving to do that, and yeah, how special was that moment for you?
It was amazing. And yeah, I mean, my mum, I owe everything to my mum. Like she's a single parent. She raised me. I mean, with the help of my grandparents. So I've got two amazing grandparents, Nana and Granddad. But my mum, she just absolutely worked her ass off her entire life. She put me through private school. She paid for my university. Like, you know, like I said, I owe everything to her. And so it's always been my goal to be able to give back and to repay in the very smallest way, that I can to offset that debt. And what's funny is my mum isn't a watch person, or wasn't a watch person. And I don't remember where we were exactly, but there was the exact watch that I bought her. I don't know if she saw a photo, if we were like walking through like Las Vegas and there was one in, I don't know where it was, but she saw one and she was like, wow, that's beautiful. If you ever want to buy me a Rolex, like that's the one. Joking. And it literally like stopped me in my tracks, because I'm like, wait a second, like that would be amazing. Like what that would be such a fantastic thing for me to be able to do. And she had never like expressed it. She didn't even wear a watch. Like I've never known my mum wear a watch. And yeah, I was just like, okay, that's it. Like you're getting it. Like 100%. I'm going to make that happen. And so, yeah, I saved up, and it coincided with a big birthday for her. And so, yeah, I just started putting money away every month and kept my eyes peeled and got Seth on the lookout for me. And we ended up finding that one, and it was exactly what I wanted. And yeah. And then when I managed to, go buy it and then give it to her. It was awesome. And it's so funny. She wears that every single day. Like it doesn't come off her wrist. The only time it comes off her wrist is so she's a nurse. She's just retrained as a nurse, and so she's in her retirement was going back to nursing, which is what she did when she was 16 to like early 20s. And so the only time she doesn't wear it is when she's on the ward. But if she could, she 100% would.
Yeah.
Like it makes me so happy, like how much joy she gets from it, and showing all of her friends and whatnot.
Yeah.
So yeah, really special to do that. And going back to kind of like the value of watches and buying a watch for sentimental reasons versus buying it just to say that you've got it. That is the perfect example of a because she could have asked for a Tudor or a Seiko, or you know what I mean. It didn't matter what it was. It was the fact that is the watch that she said.
Panerai,
Panerai. There you go.
Yeah.
You got any other sponsors we need to mention?
Yeah. Was she aware of how good Rolex? Did she see it because she didn't see it like it because of Rolex? It was the look of the watch. It didn't matter to her as a Rolex, or did she know Rolex?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think everyone knows Rolex, right? We're ingrained. Everyone's watched Wimbledon. Everyone's watched the golf. Like everyone's seen a Rolex clock in an airport.
Right.
Like we know that Rolex is the brand. So I think she definitely understood. Maybe not why, but she understood that Rolex was, the kind of the you know what I mean.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. But it was specifically the fact that it had a diamond bezel and diamond out markers, because she loves like sparkly, blingy stuff. And so I think it was seeing that where she was like, "Oh, I like that." I don't think she had ever really seen diamonds on a watch prior to that.
Okay.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah. And that actually leads into, this is amazing, leads into my next question. So I just want to ask you, and maybe you could elaborate on the brand symbol you use, the rune, which I understand the 2 X's, which you have said is devoted to your mother, and also has a mystical, spiritual meaning. Could you discuss the motivation to use that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So again, for any of your audience that isn't aware of that, so I have, ironically, I'm wearing it right now. So when I started doing the YouTube stuff, obviously you're always looking for ways to monetize and kind of build the brand. And I've always enjoyed clothing. And I, as a kid, I used to design like little clothing lines, and I would get the iron-on transfer paper stuff.
Yeah.
I'd make my own T-shirts. So I'd get my mum to go buy me like blank white T-shirts, and then I'd iron on designs and stuff. And so I've always loved that. So anyway, once I started the YouTube channel, I was like, oh, it'd be cool if I could get some merch and start. So I started the Swords brand. So obviously my last name being Swords, and then this was just a logo that I kind of came up with that I liked. And yeah, so when I was looking for an actual icon though, so the sword, the way that this is written is not the logo that I usually use. It's actually, I don't know if you can see it's on my back, but it's
the 2 X's.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so like you're saying, the reason for that was I was looking for something very simple that was like very eye-catching, that when you saw it, you thought of me and my brand, my videos. And so I tried lots of different things, and I was messing around with like typography, and I was like, I really want like a symbol. I don't just want text, kind of like Nike has the swoosh and Adidas has the 3 bars. I wanted something like that. And so I was looking through different ideas, and I couldn't think of anything. And me and my mum have always put 2 kisses, 2 X's on the end of like text messages, birthday cards, literally since I was a baby. Like she started doing it. I only put 2 kisses to her. She only puts 2 kisses to me. Like it's just our thing. And so I knew that I didn't want to use that because that's personal to us. But I was like, well, let me see what 2 X's in like symbology means, or in like history, what that refers to. And so actually my first tattoo that I ever got is these two X's right here that she hand drew on. And then I just went in and had them tattooed. And she has the same on her wrist that I drew onto her.
Wow.
That may or may not have been after 4 beers, but we went and got these tattoos. So I was looking for like what the 2 X's meant, and I came across a rune, a Viking rune, which is a symbol that the Vikings used, called Inguz, Inguz. And what it is it's the 2 X's like stacked on top of each other with the points touching. So the bottom of the X's touch the
concertina type. Yeah, kind of.
Exactly. Yeah. And I kind of I kind of liked how it looked, but also wasn't like, didn't want to just rip off this Viking rune. But when I looked at the meaning of it, it was something very poignant, because it's basically the rune of a few things, and there's different interpretation. But my takeaway from it was that it's the rune of like new beginnings. So some people look at that as like fertility and, you know, building family. But the other translation of it is that it's like forging your own path and like a new beginning and, you know, finding your own destiny. And for me, that was very poignant, because I had moved all the way across, you know, from the UK out to LA, not knowing anybody, and decided to start a whole new life. And so I was like, all right, we're onto something here. And so then I just kind of fudged with the design a bit, and I didn't want to do the two X's side by side, because that was for me and my mum. I also didn't want to stack them. So I just kind of moved them down and slotted them together, and I went, there it is.
There it is.
And so that is kind of how
very
that
cool as well. Very
came
cool.
together.
Yeah.
And again, it links in with the whole thing about like, I like stuff to have a reason. Like I like there to be a story behind it and give it some like meat on the bone. I don't just want it to be, oh, that looks cool. So yeah, I think that there's a time and a place for something to just be aesthetically pleasing, but the fact that it does have a very cool serendipitous meaning to it as well is awesome to me. So that is how the two X's came to be.
So do you have a spiritual side, or are you quite into the mysticism kind of side of things? Or
not mysticism, no. I'm not religious, so I'm agnostic. I'm not atheist, because I went to school with so many different colors, creeds, races, beliefs, and in fact I just had this conversation recently with a friend of mine, a Christian friend of mine, and I loved the fact that of all of my friends that were, you know, I went to school with Christians, Sikhs, Hindus, Muslims, like everything. And I loved the fact that all of them had their own passions and beliefs and like things that made them feel good and things that ways of living that made them feel like they were doing good and it made them better people. And so because I wasn't raised in like to believe in one thing or another, you know, I wasn't raised religious, I just kind of like drifted between all of them and just went, hey, these are all the right religion. Like I love all of these. And so that's always been my outlook on religion, is like, I personally don't have a God, if you like, that I look up to that is like my God. But I also don't think that anyone has the right to say that one is better than the other, or one does exist, one doesn't exist. So I just kind of like drift around and just like, if it makes you the best version of yourself you can be, that's the right religion. You're worshiping the right God. And so for me personally, I'm definitely more aligned with energy, I guess. So, you know, I think that you reap what you sow. And if you put out good energy, and if you are a good person and you surround yourself with good people, then you hope that then comes back to you. And obviously there's examples where that doesn't happen and where, you know, bad things happen to good people. But I feel like intention is the most important thing. And so me personally, I just try to be as open and understanding and you know, I stand up for what I believe in, and I listen to what other people have to say and respect other people's opinions and beliefs. And that kind of keeps me, you know, bumping along in the right direction. And then, like I said, the experience that I had recently that I will not say out loud, so that you can
gourmet choices,
gourmet, exactly. Certain mind-expanding gourmet choices have really helped me to understand that we are connected to a much, much, much bigger thing than our little pea brains allow us to understand when we are just like going through our day to day. And so I think that there's a lot to be taken from that in terms of people's perception and understanding of religion, and also the spiritual side of things, and like, you know, where we are in this weird rock hurtling through space.
Brilliant. One final question for you, sir. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
5 years. I've still got a long way to go, right? So I'm still building my personal YouTube channel. You know, we're almost at 100,000 subscribers. and we'll get there very soon. But yeah, we're very, very close. I want to make a difference through my channel. I've already done some charity stuff. When we had the oil spill out here, I raised, I think it was about $5,000 for the charity that took care of all the wildlife. I want to use my platform to benefit others and really, kind of allow people to benefit from this wonderful life and opportunities that I get. I want to use this platform to help other people. And that's going to look like different things in a lot of different ways. But that is my kind of goal with my channel, is to inspire people to find their everyday adventure. I mean, I didn't just make up that strap line to be twee. Like it's something I live by. And so I want people to understand that, like, you only get one shot at this life, like what happens afterwards, who knows? But like right now, in what we know and what we're in, you only get one shot. And so you'd better make it count. And 99.9% of the time, the only person that's stopping you from achieving the dream that you have, or the goal that you have, is you. Yeah. And so I think that the more people believe in themselves and the more people see that just making small choices and just saying yes to things that make them feel a bit uncomfortable, you don't have to make these giant leaps. I moved from England to America. That was a giant leap. But before that, the thing that allowed me to get to that point was like just saying yes to going to some photo workshops in Dubai when I was like 17. And the people that I met there then led on to the next thing, which then led on to the next thing and the next. And it was a slow build. It didn't happen overnight, but it has to start now. Like you've got to start now.
Yeah.
So I think in the next 5 years, it's developing the channel, developing my kind of voice and my audience, and using it for good, and motivating people to just go out and be the best versions of themselves they can be. And then my sort of legacy dream, and I know we're short on time, but my legacy dream and aspiration is that one day I see myself as an old, wrinkly man sat on a porch on a property that looks out over the ocean, where I have a marine conservation area where we can do marine biology, we can do, reef regrowth, we can teach people how to scuba dive. You can come and learn how to scuba dive while you're learning about conservation and everything else. And then on the backside of my property, I want a big dog rehabilitation center where I take local people in, because I'm presuming that this isn't going to be in California. This is probably going to be somewhere, either like third world country, or it's going to be somewhere where perhaps the opportunities aren't as great, in order to get the space that I want, and also to have access to, a reef and land like this. And so what I want to do is not only help the dogs that come in that we can rehabilitate and then rehome, but also take in locals and train them to be dog behaviorists and people that actually like get qualifications, and then build a foundation that allows me to have those people be able to go work in different countries around the world where their qualifications are recognized, where they can better support their family, earn more money than they'd be able to in their home country, wherever this is. Like I said, this is a dream scenario, so I don't know the specifics yet, but this is kind of what I want to do. I just want to help people. I want to, help people, help animals, use whatever influence or whatever I can to lift everybody up. And I think I'll be happy then.
That's awesome.
Wow.
That is
I mean, one fact, very quick. Would you
great
ever come
vision,
back to the UK? Would you ever come back to the UK and live? Would you ever do that?
I don't think I would ever live back in the UK. I always tell people over here, England is a great place to visit and America's a great place to live. Now, we're saying this in wherever we are right now, August 2022. There's a lot wrong with this country right now, and there's been a lot of crazy stuff happen. So that aside, the opportunities that I've been afforded from living in America are far greater than the opportunities that I would have had staying back in the UK. But I love the UK. I love the fact that it's my home. I'm very proud that that's, my nationality. That's where I'm from. And I think, I will always have ties to the UK with friends and family. But in terms of where I want to live, I probably would never go back there to live. But I also don't think that I'll end up living in America for the rest of my life either. So, I'll go where life takes me, where life affords me the best opportunity and allows me to keep working on myself and reaching the goals and things that I want.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Right. That's a great place to end that. Because we've got a bit of an extra there. Listen, thank you so much, Adam. You've been an amazing guest. You really
Thank you
have.
for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely fantastic.
No,
So
thanks so much,
everybody,
Adam.
Thank you.
go and check out Adam's Instagram. He's all over Instagram. You'll be blind if you can't find him. He's all over it. He's all over YouTube. Go and just search
We'll
for
put
Adam
the
Sword
links.
and
Yep.
we'll pop the links to the channel anyhow in the thing. But you'll find him very easily, and just go and subscribe the hell out of his channel and follow him because he's a very interesting bloke. Right,
And,
so
listen to his
Appreciate it.
podcasts on Spotify as well, which I found today. So, you can-
Oh, you did?
Absolutely.
So I've got to start doing those again.
You
I haven't
got,
done a
that was
podcast
good.
in
I only heard
ages.
one, but we'll talk about that afterwards.
Yeah, I bet I know which
Okay.
one it is.
So, once again, thank you, Adam, for coming on. Thank you to Palm, and thank you for Batch for bringing Adam onto the show, and thank you, Palm, and Shovel for helping sort this all out and keep everything together. Brilliant. Hope everyone enjoyed that. We're back on Thursday for another show. We're actually got a special release on Thursday morning, which I can't say, but we're recording that soon, and you'll see it 10 o'clock Thursday morning. A video will drop with a brand new release, and we'll be back Thursday night for another show. So I'll just play the VT. Thank you, everybody, for being wonderful. Thank you.
Good
Good
night.
night.
See you guys.